Hello and welcome to Camp Xbox. Mechs and gaming are two things that absolutely go together and have been a pairing in gaming forever. The original Xbox is no exception, as it had a few different mech games along with the flagship Mech Assault series. Well, in that collection of games is Gunmetal, a timed exclusive for the Xbox that came out in 2002. I played through it recently, and let me tell you how that went in a review, and I'll give you some history. All footage was captured off of an original Xbox, and I'd like to thank my YouTube channel members for their support. But let's go ahead and hop into this one. The story of Gunmetal dates back to developer Rage Software, founded by Paul Finnegan in Liverpool in 1992. Their first ever game was the soccer title Striker. That game would be a major success right off the bat with over 1 million copies sold. So with that, Rage became all the rage. They would go on to release a ton of titles, especially soccer games, but would often branch out to try their hand at run and gun games, racing games, and flight sims. They were a huge hit for the UK, and when the Xbox was releasing, it seemed they wanted to hop into that world and got to work on getting multiple games for that console. They would give us David Beckham Soccer, Totaled, and Rocky, yet there was a game in that mix called Gunmetal, which would only come out on the Xbox, at least for a short amount of time. Gunmetal was first announced in early 2001 on websites like GameSpot and IGN as an impressive mech game with 25 missions, a statement that would be restated in previews up till its release and would turn out to not be true. Yet even so, it seemed early previews brought some excitement, with Game Informer saying that it would put real-life explosions to shame. In these early stages, it was set for a late 2001 release, but it was later pushed to 2002, which I'm assuming here was to coincide with the European Xbox launch. Yet after this spring 2002 shift, not many interviews or previews were out. Small blurbs in magazines would pop out and screenshots would be shown online, but the lead up to this launch was relatively quiet and not many interviews were done with the development team. Yet it was announced that Majesco would be coming in to publish games for Rage in North America. So fairly quietly after the March 2002 European launch of the Xbox, Gunmetal would make its debut on June 28th, 2002 in Europe, and it would come to North America August 1st, 2002. I personally have zero history with this game except for playing a demo for it, so I have no nostalgia and came into this one with fresh eyes. So let me tell you about my experience with it, starting with the plot.
This farming area is the source of essential provisions for our troops. We have done all we can to prevent enemy occupation, but the front line has finally been breached. Our intelligence headquarters has now
Gunmetal, in terms of plot, takes a more old-school approach to setting up its game world by putting most of its story into the manual. In the past, Earth had invented wormhole travel, and your faction wished to populate the world of Helios. Unfortunately, this set off wars and caused your faction to escape to Helios and destroy the worm gate behind it. Helios flourished in a brief amount of time, yet now the wormhole gate is turning online and warring factions seek to take over. Yet your faction that you're playing has a mech suit as its smoking gun, a powerful mech with insane weaponry that can transform into a jet, and you are the only hope to lay waste to the enemy faction. Though a bit cliche in terms of science fiction, I do like the prologue to the game here, and I think it's a fun setup. I just wish it were better explained in the game. For the most part, the commander just announces every mission, no plot is really given, he'll just say that the enemy is at a certain point on the map, or to escort a certain group around. Now, I don't mind simplicity. It's a heavier focus on action over plot, but I do wish there was a bit more flavor. Plot, setting, and world can go a long way in keeping you invested in the action of a game. So, in the game, the portal reopens at the end. It's nice to know what's at stake with that happening. Through context clues, you can understand that there's a bad guy, and they are invading this planet, but knowing backstory makes it a bit more interesting. So when the game keeps it extremely vague, with each mission just telling you what to attack or protect, it's not building an interesting world. I'm not going to go too hard against the lack of plot here, as I can feel that the developers wanted just a basis, but wanted to focus time on gameplay. I just personally would have enjoyed more here. To me, science fiction like this works really well when it comes with an awesome world, but this is devoid of that. It makes the world less interesting and thus less memorable. Some of the best mech properties out there is all about its world, and we're missing that here. Gunmetal is split into 14 different missions, and as far as core gameplay goes, it does not change its formula. Your Havoc suit is a mech that can travel on land and use multiple different weapons to destroy ground troops and buildings, but at any time you can swap to a jet to fly around and destroy things in the air with a different set of weapons. To me, this is one of the most entertaining parts of this game, and this idea alone makes for a fun experience. Swapping from ground to a jet is fast, and the opposite is speedy as well. It feels like changing your tactics on the fly makes it so there's never a dull moment in the action of this game, which there really is no dull moments. This is a fast, action-packed experience with barely any downtime. Now, some levels do have you focused more on jet or mech, but for the most part, this game does a good job of giving you the tools and you creatively solve them. Like how you might be able to take down a dropship by shooting rockets from the land at it, or you can use your rockets in the air. It's up to you and how you feel is best to take on these situations. The openness of that design allowed me to feel like I had more agency and more control over the gameplay. It works in hand with the giant setting of this game. The land areas you fight in for each level are expansive and require a lot of traveling around, allowing you to take your own routes on some levels, and that expansive gameplay is truly nice for a game from 2002. What's nice too is that the goals in each level are a mix of different styles. You have escort missions, protect the city missions, and full-on assaults. They even fit a cool mission where you have to clear out mines and canyons while staying low. It felt like a stealth mission. I don't think they're reinventing much in terms of gameplay style, but it's nice that they at least bring some mission goal variety. The issue is that missions on average take under 5 minutes to beat and maybe up to 10 to 15 minutes. This game is extremely short and only takes maybe 2 hours to get everything done. I'm not one to complain too hard about the length of a game. I don't really hate it here, but there just isn't a lot to do. Once you beat this game, it's over. You can replay missions, but there are no new difficulties, bonus missions, or even multiplayer. Once you're done, it's done, and I think that's a disappointment. Yet you can replay missions to get better completion times, and you can get weapons you unlock later in the game back to older missions to make them easier, which I do think is good, especially because the variety of weapons is a nice touch, once again giving the player more agency. You only have so many weapon slots, and it's up to you to fill these with weapons you think work best. There are missions that do feel as though they require a certain weapon type, but it's up to you to figure that out and mix and match all the weapons together. Yet with all these weapons, the gameplay remains simple and easy to control. Movement both on the ground and in the air has a nice ease to it, and all of the weapons feel good and provide good feedback. It works as a solid third-person shooter, but it also feels like an arcadey flight game. Two things that I enjoy quite a bit. Yet I do think it's a good thing that this game forces you to use both. You only have a shield on the mech, and the jet has no shield, so every hit on it will take out your health, and the health bar is shared between both forms, requiring you to be strategic at healing points as those are limited and it takes time to heal. So it will take you out of crucial battles, so you need to be strategic every step of the way. Luckily, this game offers a lot of that challenge, though I do feel some of the late levels, like the one where you travel through mine-filled valleys to destroy missile silos, are overly difficult with your limited health. Yet, if you like a challenge, this one is good, and I will say it's doable, but some missions, they really ramp up in difficulty in order to keep you in the game longer. Despite a lack of things to do, I find the gameplay here well designed and fun to play. It's an entertaining shooter that will always have you on the edge of your seat. It's a simple matter of me just wanting more than what this game has to offer. I thought the openness of the game design was inventive, and it led to something fresh for 2002. The core gameplay is strong, I just wish there was a bit more to do. Visually, Gunmetal is a solid-looking game for 2002. For me, I was most impressed by the game's scale. There's a bit of fog in the distance, but it's pretty far out. For the most part, the environment greatly renders size and scale. Your mech is gigantic against these environments, so much so that buildings and trees are tiny against you. Enemy humans on the ground are easily stomped, and there's fun blood effects that go with that. Gliding against the horizon, with the grass or the snow on the ground, captures huge landscapes well. That does mean, though, that there's not a lot lot of detail. Most of these places are empty or long stretches of nothing, but to me, I actually like that. It shows off the scale of the world, though some more detail would have been nice. It does help that this game does support 480p widescreen, and this is a nice widescreen. It's not cutting anything off. It's impressive how in open areas, this game runs at a very clean frame rate. It does get choppy when there's a lot of explosions and troops though, especially when things are exploding. You'll see it tank a bit, but for the most part, I think this game runs decently. I do like that if you destroy the environment, it stays in the environment, so any building you wreck or land destruction sticks throughout the entire mission, which is impressive for the time period. I do find the designs of the mech ships and buildings fairly basic though. Simple sci-fi stuff, which I think with more impressive designs, it could have elevated the game. Instead, the ships just feel like they repeat with small tweaks to color to differentiate them. They feel like they're from other games or sci-fi properties, and though not game ruining, it gives this game less pizzazz. Much like the story, I want more out of the world here, and these elements make this game feel cut and pasted from other things and not entirely its own. Though the Havoc suit itself is pretty cool, the animations on it, especially the transition from ground to air, is impressively fluid and not too slow. The shine on the suit is really good too, and overall I think it makes for a solid looking early Xbox game.
Another wave of enemy units is approaching. Keep them away from the facility. One wing of the research facility has been destroyed. All of our work is going up in smoke.
The music in Gunmetal is a lot of fun. The music is a drum and bass style electronic soundtrack, which in general I'm just a sucker for. It's loud, has heavy drums, and blasts the whole time. I do think it's a bit generic, nothing really stuck to me. It all flows together, but it does at least keep the action strong. It's always blasting and complements the game, but this game uses one of the Xbox's best features: custom soundtracks, the ability to play soundtracks that you burn to your console. Usually I find sports and racing games use this feature the most, and I don't really expect games like this to have it. It's not even listed on the back of the box as one of its features, yet you can play any soundtrack you want while you play this game. So automatically, that makes this game better. Voiceovers are limited here, with only the commander being the main voice, giving you a briefing or warning in the level. He pops in at the right time to direct you where you're going to on the map. I never found it annoying, and it was a nice way to keep the gameplay flowing, and it kept me on track, so I never felt lost in this game. Yet the mech gets a voice when your health is low, and I quite like the robotic voice it has, so the minimal voice work here actually works. It works with the great chaotic noise of the game. Gunshots and explosions are extremely loud and going off constantly. There's always chaos to the noise, and that's perfect. You want to feel like a destructive machine in any mech game, and it's sold through the audio. Gunmetal is a cult classic for sure. It's filled with flaws and screams of a game that not many really looked at. For me, it's a game I had quite a bit of fun with. The controls and openness of the gameplay set up for a great arcadey time. Once you start this game up, you will stick to it, especially with how speedy this game is. Yet, some of its downfall is in that. There's not much here. It's at least 2 hours of content and you'll beat it and want more. The problem is there just isn't anymore. It also needed more story development or a unique identity to make it stand out. Otherwise, the world feels bland, which is a disappointment compared to much better sci-fi games on the Xbox. There are ways to do small plots and build a universe, and this just doesn't do it. Yet this game is saved by just being a good fun time, certainly flawed, but if you do get it, you'll get some entertainment out of it. On my ranking list where I rank every game I reviewed here on the channel, we are now at 131 games reviewed. Gunmetal is going to enter in at number 79. Though I am a fan of Thrillville, in terms of what it does right, I think Gunmetal has gameplay with far fewer flaws. The game is fun for the most part. Yet Sega GT 2002 is a far more robust game with a simulation mode that will keep you coming back versus Gunmetal, which is a one and done experience. And something I want to start doing, and I've been recommended to do, is comparing games with its own genre on my ranking list, especially as it grows. Though this is actually my first ever mech game I reviewed here. Yet I will at least compare it to Air Force Delta for now, which does involve flight, and that ranks in at number 58. I find that game to be a much more entertaining choice that offers more identity and tighter controls. So if you're looking for a flight game, I'd say Gunmetal is a very basic version of that, and Air Force Delta is going to be a lot more entertaining. Gunmetal came out to mixed reviews on Metacritic with a score of 63. IGN gave it a 6.7, saying that it was fun while playing, but it was after playing that they noticed many flaws, saying it was only good for a rental. In Electronic Gaming Monthly, they'd give it a 5 out of 10 in all categories with visuals, sound, ingenuity, and replay value. They would say that it was a bland offering. It also had linear gameplay design and an uninspired world. In the September 2002 issue of Official Xbox Magazine, they'd give it a 7.9. They thought the gameplay was a lot of fun, but much like EGM, they would say the world was far too bland, and they also thought the jet controls weren't solid. According to VG Charts, they estimate that this game sold around 110,000 copies worldwide, which is far from a hit, but not a complete failure, though it definitely wasn't taking off as the next Xbox classic, especially with Mech Assault right around the corner, though this is not the end of Gunmetal. Rage Software, soon after their 2002 release schedule dissipated. A new company called Swordfish Games would open and would actually acquire Rage for £1. And this was after Rage, being successful for so long, was floundering with money issues and they'd split off. Part of that split off was Yeti Studios, who would actually port Gunmetal to PC, which the PC version is easily available on Steam today. I played a bit of it, and as far as gameplay goes, it felt the same with mission structure. The gameplay with the mouse felt really nice though, and it felt nice and precise. And on a modern computer, it looks solid. There's more detail in the environments, but I do think they overdid it with the lighting. There's an insane glare from the sun in this game, but it's a good and easy way to play this one. Yet that is the end of the legacy for this game, and nowadays I do get comments about this game, usually in conversation with other mech games on the console, but it's certainly a hidden game in the Xbox lineup and serves as an odd footnote in short-lived exclusives. On the user aggregate website Backlogged, this game has over 100 plays and sports a 3.0 out of 5 average. Most reviews will tell you this is a fun game, but there's a lot of people who don't love the lack of content. Yet, have you ever played this game? Be sure to tell me in the comments so I can understand how everyone felt about this game. Everybody's opinion is important. And if you enjoyed this review, please leave a like, as it really helps me out in the algorithm. Subscribe to keep up with more videos like this, and check out my second channel, Camp Extras, where I'm covering non-Xbox games. And I want to give a huge shout out to my YouTube channel members. Thank you so much for your support. You really help out the channel, and I'll see you here next time at Camp Xbox.